Now, this is going to be a real special, in fact, it already is special. I've met so many persons that I knew, and good to see old faces, and you, boy, you athletes, what a great career, and just so good to see you, so good to see you. I'm going to just make a few comments in reference to the real purpose of us being here tonight. When Dr. Perkins and I talked when I first came on board, this was important to both of us, that we get this done, because it's not there's only about 3 or 4 universities in the country that can even have an occasion like this, because they didn't have a Dave Robbins. So we were just blessed, and we just wanted, and as a coach myself, you really think you know what happened, but you don't. Because, and I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and my comments tonight is going to be reserved to a theme. And that theme is simply this: living a life that counts. Living a life that counts. Living a life that counts means doing something that matters. Doing something of value. And doing something in your community and in your family and in the lives of the people around you. I'm reminded of a funeral that took place. Al Sharpton was telling us about it. And as the funeral was going on, the pastor who was giving the eulogy just kept going on and on and on about how great this person was. And of course, the wife that was now the widow and the little daughter was sitting on the front pew. And the Reverend kept going on and on and on, and he kept saying great things about this guy. So the wife touched the little daughter and said, "Would you go up there and see if that's your daddy?" Because it's important to live a life that matters so that nobody has to fib about who you are. Well, since we're talking that way, in 2 Chronicles chapter 21, verse 20, it talks about a king. And this king was Jehoram. And he reigned over Jerusalem. And at the end of his reign, when he left, nobody was sad. In fact, most people was glad to see him go. No recognition. He wasn't fondly missed. Well, that's not the case tonight. Coach, the word coach. By definition, coach. He is someone who takes people to places that they cannot go by themselves. That's coach. That's coach. When you live a life that counts, you become a legend. You become a legend. Tonight, we are honoring a legend. What makes a legend? Well, first of all, to be a legend, you must care about those around you. And anybody who knows Dave Robbins, he always says it was never about him. It was about his players. If you know anything about Dave, he always says that. Second of all, to become a legend, you must live a life that others want to emulate. Coming tonight is a testament that you support it and you follow and you're emulating his life. In fact, I'm going to have a little confession here. Most of you all know, as Chip said, we did roam the sidelines for about 40 years, and my first head coaching job actually was here at Virginia Union. I have an affinity for this place. Back when Dr. Perkins called, that's the only reason I came back, is because we've had a blessed career, but it all started here. a lot of my career was shaped watching Dave Robbins. He's the king of posters. The king. And now I coached 40 years, but 30 as a head coach. And every year, I put out a poster. I got that from Dave. A lot of other things, I'm gonna tell you everything I got from him, but my favorite poster is right back there where I was sitting. It says, next. And it's a barber shop, and as much as I loved it, I didn't have enough courage to use that one. I felt that way when we hit the field, but I didn't have enough courage. But Dave, it's a singleness of purpose that these create within your team that says one heartbeat. You all don't know the magnitude of those posters. To you all, yeah, nice pictures, nice, but it created a sense of one heartbeat. That's coaching, because with unity, boy, that's power. But again, emulation. The next thing that it takes to be a legend is that you must be a blessing to others by giving you or giving them your time, your talent, and by all means, your treasures. For 30 years, people across this country, whenever basketball was talked about, Virginia Union was in the conversation. For 30 years. That's amazing. This wasn't done with bells and whistles. It was just a passion to help others. A passion to help others. That's when you become a legend. Every time there was a game, the next day alumni could open that paper to the sports section, and Virginia Union was in their left-hand column. That's where the winners are. For 30 years. And we wanted to do this tonight because we can't take that frivolously. What an outstanding career. Now, that's a blessing. The other thing though, Mr. Commissioner, the race in the CIAA tournament was always for who was going to be second. Because it was understood in November. In fact, they put the name on the trophy in November because it was obvious who was going to heist it. For 30 years. We can't take that lightly. Now, with that being the case, Coach Robbins had a vision, not a dream. He had a vision. And when we talk vision, the difference is simply this. Dreams are things that happen when you sleep. But a vision won't let you sleep until it comes to pass. Dave came here with a vision. And it had to be a strong one because the guy who hired him really wanted to, at one point, fire him. And we all know the story that Tricky Tom tells, but we're not going to tell the whole thing. But when you have a vision, you get it done. However, when you have a vision and you don't have resources, you're just hallucinating. So he reached out to many of you in this room, and you stepped to the plate, and you helped him to undergird his vision. And again, he will personally thank all of you. As we move forward with this era, we looked at the film, we saw the film. We know what we are known for. We know the tradition here. The only reason we're back is to revive that tradition. And anybody who knows Joe Taylor, you know I'd rather have a finger cut off than to lose. But the key to it all is this. I'm not hallucinating. The vision is one thing, the resources are a must. And we will be reaching out tonight. you see the envelopes. Some kind of way we have to immortalize Dave. And that means we need to have an endowed scholarship in his name so that as we move forward, first of all, his legacy will not fade. But then there's some other Charles Oakleys that we need to give scholarships to, some Ben Wallaces, some Terry Davises. Dr. Perkins understands the economy. He knows that a lot of these students are here because of the scholarships that he provides here at Virginia Union. We need your support. We are obligated to keep this legacy going. And in my haste to come back and make this a business on the athletic side, we have projects. We have to have you involved with that. We're obligated. We saw the film. We got $250 passes that we're getting pushed back for 30 events. That's $8.33. That's a hot ticket. How are we going to have pushback? From Ohio State to Bethune-Cookman, our athletic departments win because they're run like a business. Free 99 left town. Our coaches are working hard. Our student athletes are working hard. They deserve your support. We got the vision. We need the support. With that being the case, Dave, what a great job. You've lived a life that counts. You've lived a life that mattered. You've always brought value to everything that you touched. You've always cared about those around you. That's why they're here tonight. You've always been a blessing. I personally hold you in the highest respect. Can't let you get away. I got to figure out something for you to do. When we were having these meetings to plan this, I had to catch myself just watching him. A giant of a man. From Virginia Union University, we just wanted to do this for you because you brought value to all of us, and we thank you. What we're going to give you is a golf bag that is commemorative of all that you have done. Now, I need to apologize a half a second though because it's black. That's your practice bag, okay? But the new golf coach have assured me that the school colors with the commemoratives are on the way. And we all know he's a great golfer. I only let him whip me once because I didn't go back. Okay. But this bag says, Coach Dave Robbins, 713 wins from 1978 to 2007, 14 CIAA championships, Virginia Union, 3 national champions. Now again, this is, you're gonna have 2. This is your practice one, and the other one is coming. But what a great, great career that you and Bonnie can you deserve your retirement. Thanks for allowing us to have this night for you. Thank you so much.
Good evening, and thank you, Dr. Perkins and Coach Taylor. What an honor. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for putting this together to celebrate a man that I know is of much greatness. Watching that video brings a lot of memories from when I was a player at Hampton University and watched some of the stars we have in here play, but even prior to that, and then having the opportunity to coach with Coach Robbins for 1 year, there was a lot of firsts that took place in my life. So the first job that I received was Virginia Union, and I wasn't just the volleyball coach, because as Dr. Perkins, as I talked, you can do more than just one thing. I was a volleyball coach, assistant basketball coach, the compliance coordinator, the senior woman administrator. I had more than one job, but I tell you, it helped and shaped who I am right now and why I'm in this position. I have 3 minutes, so I'm leading the charge for the rest of the crew coming behind me. So because I understand what 3 minutes means and understand the vision, you can make a lot happen in 3 minutes. Coach Robbins, you are blessed to be a blessing, and Coach Taylor just said that. I listened to the letter you wrote last Friday honoring Dr. Simmons, and what an honor it was to be there. And I tried to figure out who was writing or who said those words, and I narrowed it down to about 3 people. And I wasn't surprised when they said it was you, because that's the type of man that you are. You have a heart of love for your family, your community, Virginia Union family, and all the athletes that you've coached through the years, and even me as your 1-year coach. You get it, you got it, and you still do. And I'm so happy to see your family here, because they were by you every step of the way. You are the white shadow. I tried to figure out, what does that mean? And those who don't know what that means, let me tell you, though I was only 9 years old when the show came out called The White Shadow, it was an American drama television on CBS network from 1978 to 1981. The show's title derived from a comment by Thorpe, who was a player, so we'll say Big D, who if I was still your coach, you'd be running today. Big D. In response to a statement by Ken Howard, who was the coach, Dave Robbins. And in the final scene of the pilot episode, Coach Robbins told the members of his team that he would support them and be right behind them every step of the way. And then Big D replied, "Yeah, like a white shadow." That speaks volume for the respect and love we have for you, Coach Robbins. You're a pioneer, you're a legend for Virginia Union, the CIAA, and everywhere I go now, people talk about you and Virginia Union. You're amongst the Big House Gaines, the Harvey Hartleys, the John McClendons, who I was so happy to have been in their presence as a student athlete and then even as a professional. But the joy of being able to coach with you for 1 year was value, and to who I am today as a CI commissioner and the Virginia Union family. It didn't matter that I was a woman. What mattered was that I could bring value to the table and make champions and continue to develop as a coach. I like to think I had a lot to do with all the wins you had during the time I got to coach with you. But even if I did not, you made me feel like a contributor every step of the way. You told me not to focus on what you did good, but what not to do. So I promised myself I would not bribe anyone for candy for answers, because I was in compliance. I also said I wouldn't say something. I wouldn't put my coach out of the. Let me just say this: Coach Robbins was so respectful of me being the woman on the coaching staff. At halftime, we would go in the locker room, and he had a few words to say to the gentlemen. And he would say, "Miss Jackie, can you just step out for just a minute?" And so I did. And I also knew Coach Robbins had a lot of superstitions, something about keeping change in one pocket. I couldn't do that either, because I'd probably spend it all. So celebrating you is easy and such an honor. You did not have to give any of us a chance to be a part of your greatness as we see. You're so humble. I think you're even having a hard time listening to all of this and what you'll hear today. But we are great because of you. So we share this experience with you for being with us every step of the way, Coach Robbins. I share this experience with you for representing the CIAA in the highest regard and the NCAA. I remember being in Houston and they celebrated you, and I said, "That's my coach." Who would have known that I would have reconnected with you at that level? Not just once or twice or 3 times have you given players chances. You didn't let them strike out. You gave them a chance to make a home run despite their circumstance, despite where they came from, including me when I didn't even want to coach anymore, but I ended up still having to coach, which was a great opportunity. A very close friend told me to tell you just yesterday that he was a high school coach, and I'll tell you later, but he said, you were always good to him, and he appreciated it. You are all about the people and making impact. I'm not sure so many of you know what white shadow means, except what I just told you, but my interpretation is that despite the color of his skin, he was invested in this university and student athletes. He was right behind each and every player every step of the way. It only mattered to him to treat people with respect, no matter who you were and what you were and where you were. Coach Robbins, you are blessed to be a blessing, and we celebrate you today, not just here at Virginia Union, but the CIAA family loves you and honors you all across the country. So thank you so much for letting me be a part of this. Thank you.
This is kind of tough for me. I don't know whether most of you know, I've been knowing Coach Robbins. He was my coach when I was in the 5th grade. Only coach I ever had. We won on that level, Coach. High school, we won that level. And of course, here at Union, we won that level. And it wasn't a surprise. One of the board members came to me, and the board of trustees here came to me and said, what do you think about Dave Robbins? And I said, well, what do you mean? And he said, well, we're considering him as a coach here. I'm like, well, I tell you this, if you pick him as your coach, you better get ready for the run, because he's not going to lose. He wins at everything he does. He's the first person that I've ever met that was more or as competitive as I was. Wasn't going to lose in nothing. And he took a little skinny kid like me. I had talent. He groomed me from the time I was 11 years old until I graduated from Virginia Union University. The basketball thing, his record, everybody knows. But because I've been with him so long, there's so many things that he's taught me and other players, personal things. I mean, you're talking about a true father figure. He taught us how to respect people, respect women, respect your elders, always do the right thing. He was a blue-collar worker in everything he did. He succeeded in everything he did, and he made sure each one of his players was going to do the same thing. They were going to succeed. He wouldn't quit on you. Like Jackie said, he'd give you numerous times to screw up, but he never left your side. My daddy was the most perfect man that I've ever known in my life. This man has all the qualities that my daddy had. I mean, every one of them. And my daddy said, look, whatever you do, stick with him. He might say some things that you may not understand, but he's looking at the big picture. So Coach Robbins, you have no idea what you've done in my life, what I've learned from you. I've watched you. And let me say this, he's not just a great coach, a great husband, a great parent. I know he's a great grandfather. This is an awesome man. Virginia Union, you were right on point hiring him. I was so overjoyed. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I was just so glad. But the way that, Coach, you've touched my life, and I don't really tell you a lot of my business and all that kind of stuff, but I know if I ever needed you, ever, I know there was always a place in your heart for me. And as likewise, if you ever need me for anything, I mean anything, I will go out of my way, just like you are my daddy. I love you. I appreciate what you've done for me. And I'm not going to take a whole lot of time because I know other players have things to say, but I am so blessed. I mean, so blessed to have had you as my coach, my mentor, my stepfather. I will never, ever, ever forget what you've done for me and where you helped me get to in my life. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. I just need to thank you, Coach. I mean, you've been so good to me. That's it.
Oh, man. Woo. Keith put it up high. Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming out. Glad to see Joe back at his home. New basketball coach, new football coach. Man, Dave. But anyway, Coach, great guy, great guy. This guy drove all 500 miles to Cleveland to get me. Most times people drive that far, they're gonna get some watermelons or something. But he came back with a truck full, but with no watermelons. You know, he came to Cleveland. He had the little pickup, had the hat on, he had that coat, Diet Coke, and some crackers, peanut butter crackers. I said, Coach, I didn't know him that much, you know, just getting really getting acquainted, but that's all you had? So, we got to Cleveland. My mother, you know, she's a great cook, so I'm trying to be a chef now, but I can't cook like her, but now I think I can. But anyway, she made a little meal, you know, and Coach was getting acquainted. So she came, you know, when you're cooking, you can take a break if you know what you're doing. So she came in and got in the conversation, asked some questions, and you know, my mother had never been, you know, she's from Alabama, she's been to Cleveland, but she go Alabama, Cleveland, that's it. So she started asking questions, you know, about the university. Be my first time leaving Cleveland for a while, you know, if I was gonna go to Union, but anyway. So went back and forth, this and that. Next thing you know, the meal ready. Next thing you know, it's getting dark. So you see a white guy in a truck, no tinted windows in Cleveland. Big D, you can tell him it's getting dark, so he was flicking out red. He was flicking out red, so like, I got the signs, so I put two and two together and got four. And it was a good conversation, and you know, my mom gave him a sandwich, and he headed back down to Virginia. Time got going. I visited a few other schools, but anyway, I came down here. He picked me up at the airport. Got in the truck. Went to Burger King's. Drive-through. And you know, he was a funny guy. I mean, he'll keep you laughing, you know, so you can ride from here to California with him. He got that much in him, and love and heart. But anyway, Union, small campus, you know. I get on campus, I see 1 building, 2 buildings, 3 buildings. I thought it was somebody, you know, had about 20,000 acres with a house on it. I ain't know it was Virginia Union on 3 buildings. But, you know, as the next day came about, you know, just talking, and, you know, you listen to him too long, I swear he's gonna get you. But, you know, he just had good conversation and good things, and introduced me to a lot of people around campus, and one thing led to another one. I had a good time. I don't know, did I meet the Wall brothers that weekend or somebody else? Donnell and his brother? Yeah, so, you know, 2 brothers from DC, big guys, football players. Joe know them. You know, they was real friendly, and stayed in touch. Went back to Cleveland. Another month went past. I made a decision. And Tom Harris, Tricky Harris, and some other guys, you know, he went to Shaw University, like about 8 people came down from Cleveland. So it was more like a little family coming together. So we had somebody, you know, so wrong to lean on his shoulders. So I got here, I didn't look back. Had a great time. You know, first year wasn't great, but it was a step you got to take. You know, take the next step. Got to start somewhere. And you know, so by the time I sophomore, junior year, got better and better. I got better. Coach, you know, pushing me. He said he gonna drive me, so you're gonna get better if you want to listen. You got to be disciplined, though. He gonna discipline you one way or the other. His way or the highway. So I stayed disciplined. You know, had a pretty good career, but you know, Coach is just one of them guys that it's hard to explain what he do, how he do. Like today, he took me to the golf course. I played some guys. I didn't play good. You know, the first 5 I wasn't trying to impress. But when he left, I think I shot a 38 or 39 in the back. But that's just, you know, I know that they was gonna tell him how I played, so I had to make him look good. You know? But him and his family always been good to me. Bonnie always make me food when I come to the house, spaghetti, salad, you know, cook. And you go to, when he goes to his house, he got all kinds of tricks and stuff, you know, just, I don't know. And you walk up and take a step, somebody might jump out like it's a haunted house. And, you know, just doing little things like that to keep you on the tiptoes and be alert. I mean, he do all of that. And he always calling me. I try to answer the bell. I'm like a fighter who get knocked out. When he call, I got to get up. When he call, I got, you know. So I always been there for him. He been there for me. And, you know, he always asked about my mom asked about him. You know, getting drafted and being at his house was, I think, was better than being in New York, because being him in 4 years with him and having my back. So I went to New York, nobody would have had my back. So I was with a family, his family. I was relaxed. Didn't know where I was going. They called one time, said, "You're going 4th round, 2nd round." Next thing I know, he said, "First." I said, "You know what? Just pick me, please." I'm tired of the calls. Just pick me. And it happened. It happened, and I had to give Virginia Union a lot of credit, you know, coming here. You know, wasn't a big school, but life, you gotta take a chance. And we take that chance, like everybody is talking about, you gotta build with it, stay with it. I mean, sooner or later, you're gonna get blessed. I got blessed. So when I came down here, I met a lot of friends. Tony Nassar, he's a great guy. The Royal family. I met Mr. Fields, he passed away. I met the Green family. I met a lot of friends. I stay in touch. I came back 3 years ago. I think it was homecoming. I cooked a big meal. I'm trying to be a chef now, so y'all gotta stay engaged with me. Hopefully this year I have my show, but I'm working on it. I'm not bad. Right, Coach? Right, Tony? I have to go to my home cards, you know, A and B. But it's a great night, great guy. This man won 700 plus games. Almost 24 games a year. I mean, 3 decades. I mean, it's amazing. You know, I almost played 3, but I was 12 short. 12 years short, but I played into 3. But, you know, I'm trying to follow his footsteps. I mean, you know, he's still working. He still do a lot for the university. He retired, not official retired, because he gave his heart to this university. And I tell him, Dave, you give him everything. You need a day like this. I tell him all the time. I mean, hey, you do it all. We had a guy like him before named Butch. Joe know Butch. He's the football guy. I mean, you remember people who did a lot, people who cared, put their heart on the line. I mean, that's why I always try to come back and do the little things, the golf tournament. Coach called me or someone if I'm available. You know, the guy told me he wanted to play in the football golf tournament. He just told me today, and it's next week. It's kind of close. I know I can be Superman, but wow. But I'm just glad I'm here today, and Coach, I really take a lot out you and your family, your daughters, and their husband, and everyone here tonight. I had a good run here. Like Joe said, we gotta get it back right. It was right. Yeah, I mean, we all enjoyed it. It was right. I mean, it was right before I got here. I ain't gonna say we made it. No, they started it. We just carried on. That's what we need. You know, we need to build new roads. They building a couple more new buildings. Let's build it back together. So I'm not gonna be all night. I'm gonna say thank you. All the guys who play here, Terry, Ben, AJ, Duke, Keith, Jamie. I play with Jamie. Jamie could fly. When R. Kelly made that song, I Wish I Can Fly, that's Jamie. I love Jamie, man. Jamie, hey, he made my job easy. I do throw it to him, he going to get it. Throw it to Jamie. But anyway, I know one of the guys got something to say, because the shallow, the shallow, look at him. He's special, ain't he? 30 years, still growing. Can you come back? Gotta give a shout out to my man V Mo. Raymond Neff, he's my roommate. I did his camp the other day, it was great. In the city, doing a great job. We need to get more support. I take my time out when they call me. So y'all local, so y'all should be able to drive 10 miles, 2 miles. I had to come 500 miles, like Coach. At 500 miles, I'm gonna get you something at 500. You got 700 plus wins, so we ain't, I know I'm a little lower, but I'll make it right. 2 times 5, I'll get 1,000. All right, well, next guest, have a good night.
All right, thank you for having me. First of all, I'd like to start with Rob. Ms. Robbins, thank you for sticking with Coach. And more importantly, Ms. Robbins, allowing Coach to stay here with us. I know so many opportunities you had to take him away from us, and Coach had so many opportunities to go all over the world, but he stayed with us. I know night after night you heard that big sorry Terry Davis. I don't know what I'm gonna do with him. But I really appreciate it, Ms. Robbins. The girls, I love y'all. Y'all are my family. I haven't forgot the spaghetti dinners. So, now, my man, my coach, my mentor, my father. Just piggybacking off you, Keith, same thing, man. He means everything to me. It wouldn't be no Terry Davis without this man. He came to South Boston and got a little country boy and brought him back to Richmond. And it just taught me the life lessons of manhood. When I think about Coach Robbins, I just think of a man of integrity, a man of faith. Before every game, we had to stand up. we had to kneel down and say the Lord's Prayer. There's so many things I could say about this man tonight and how he shaped my life and how he formed my life. And what I understood was, it wasn't about the X's and O's with him. It was about shaping and reforming knuckleheads like me. And I thank you so, so much, Coach, for just taking the time out day in, night out. My kids, thank you so much. They send the message, Coach. My son, he's in LA. Because of you, he got the opportunity to sign with the Lakers. Everything you taught me, Coach, I taught him, and like you say, when I learned from you, it was the little things in life, help the old lady cross the street, take your hat off in the building, but, that was just life lessons that carried on, Coach, and I instilled those same lessons in my kids, but like I said, I'm not gonna hold you long, but one of the defining moments in my life, my freshman year, he called me in and he said, Terry,
You know, I need me another Charles Oakley. You can score, and you know you're a pretty good offensive player, but I need me a horse. I said, well, Coach, how in the hell are we gonna get that? I'm an offensive guy. I like to score. I like to rebound and bully people. I ain't no bully, okay? So, just to tell you how much this guy loved Terry Davis, he called me into his office, and he had a T-shirt that said, Virginia Union basketball, All-American, no junk food. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the defining moment in my life. Once I started eating properly, getting proper rest, man, it just changed my entire life, Coach. Coach didn't have to call my mom and dad. He introduced me to a guy named Mr. Lalancer when I came here. Tony's right here. This is my other father, too. Him and Coach had been friends for a long time, but when he introduced me to Tony, like I said, he didn't have to call my mom and dad. All he had to do was call Tony, and I had to go down to Tony's and get the whole lecture and the whole 9 yards. But by the time I finished with Tony, I was okay when I got back to campus. Like I said, thank you so much, Mr. Nash, for being there. Oh, you made life in the NBA easy, man. When I got there, it's the honest God truth. I was in the Miami Heat locker room. You know, everybody around, they, you know, say what university they're from and the whole 9 yards. So it was my turn to get up, and they asked me where I was from. So I said I was from Virginia Union University. So the whole room got quiet. You know, I got kind of embarrassed because I knew it was a small university, the whole 9 yards. It was Syracuse, Carolina, everybody. But they said, ain't that where that little white coach at? You know, ain't that where Charles Oakley went? I said, yeah, that's what Charles looked. He said, y'all crazy up there, ain't you? I said, yeah, we crazy. And after that, you know, I just started following those footsteps, and I started playing crazy and acting crazy and blowing people. And Oakley, honestly, man, thank you for being a brother, man. Thank you for being a big brother, coming back every summer, man, spending time with me and making sure I got the opportunity to reach some of the goals that I was trying to reach. But like I said, Coach, I love you. Ms. Robbins, I love you. Girls, I love you. Like I said, it would not be no Terry Davis without you. Okay? Love you. I'm always here for you.
Dr. Perkins, Mr. and Mrs. Robbins, tonight is your night. But I want to take you back a few decades. When we did not have washing machines. And after every game, Mrs. Robbins would take the uniforms home. I know not many of you know that. Very quietly, she would do these mundane things for you and her boys. Tonight, they talked about endowing scholarship. We have some heavy hitters in this room. A number of them. 4 of them, 3 of them slipped out of the door and spoke before I came up. I was about to ask the moderator if he would switch names. And he came over to the table and I said, that's all right. But let me tell you what we're going to do. Tonight, I'm going to challenge the folk in this room, big boys with boys, join the parade. We talk about the legacy. We talk about what Dave meant to us and what it means to us. Let's make it real. Let's make it real. I want Pamela. We're going to start off with $50,000. We're going to ask all the big boys to top earn. And let's have a meeting and let's decide how we're gonna put it together. I'm not putting any pressure on you guys. But you're gonna stand there and at the end, sum it up and count it. Because you were there when it started. And I remember Tom Harris said, as we sat across the street, he said the best thing that you all could do for Union is to get a little white boy at TJ. I said, is that right? And he has been proven over and over again. Right. I want to thank you for the years you have given this university, for all you have done, you and Bonnie. And I want us to let's get it real tonight. Thank you all. Thank you for this university. Thank you.
Thanks for having me here, Coach. Thanks for having me here. This is Robbins. Been a long time. Like Oak, Coach came, you know, with the little pickup all the way up to Wilmington. And what Coach did, more than anything, Coach didn't try to sell me. He didn't try to sell me. Coach told me, if I came to Virginia Union, someday I would be successful in basketball. You were right, Coach. He told me that from day one. Me and Coach, we clashed. Oh, we clashed. And if it wasn't, I think Willard Coker, Coach Coker was the go-between our freshman year. I remember going into the CIAA tournament my freshman year, and I didn't start in the semifinals. He's ready to play. Coker came over there and his best Dave Robbins boys, damn it, you ready to play? Yeah, I'm ready to play. You know, is he gonna start me? That's all I wanted to know. Yeah, you gonna start or you ready to play? I appreciate you, Coach. I appreciated that. I didn't know how you felt about me. I don't know if everybody knew, me and Coach spent probably 40 days my sophomore summer together. 30 of them were in Taipei, playing for the USA basketball team in the Jones Cup. Coach didn't give me a pep talk. You didn't say anything to me, Coach. You didn't say anything to me. I was the only Division II player on the team. Felt as though I was out of my league a little bit. I'm listening to these guys talk about the, you know, the UNLVs, the Syracuses, and, you know, these guys talking about all of these big time things that they were doing at their school. when it was all said and done, I think our star shined the brightest. We went undefeated, and at the end of it, that was the first time you said anything to me. You said, "Damn it, A, way to play." From that point on, I knew you believed him. I knew that was the first time, because my freshman year was rocky, you know. I didn't come from I came from the inner city of Wilmington, Delaware, crime-ridden, and it was bad, and you saved my life. It was way more than basketball. You saved my life. You took me out of a situation that I didn't know. I didn't know if I would have stayed in that situation where I was going to be. But because of Coach Robbins, I have my own mentoring program that is in 8 schools right now in Delaware, Coach. And the kids are tired of hearing about Coach Robbins. Ray Anderson knew who Coach Robbins was before he even stepped 1 foot on the campus of Virginia Union. And the situation wasn't so good for Ray. Ray was like, "Hey, I want to do it, but I want to win. I want to win. I don't know if I can help you with that, Ray." Then he came back home, he came to my camp, and he came in and I said, "So what's your decision?" He said, "I'm staying." And I said, "All right, I'll talk to you after the camp's over with." And I said, "Why you decide to stay, Ray?" And he told me, you know, he's going to put his best foot forward. He's going to try to follow that path that was already laid. And he said, "I want to get everything from Coach Robbins that I can possibly get from him." That's what he said to me. I don't know if you knew this, Coach. When I got off the plane, I had already made my mind up that I was coming to Virginia Union. Because of Oakley. Because of Charles Oakley. I never told you this, you know, but because of you was the reason I came to Virginia Union. And it was the best decision I ever made in my life. Best decision I ever made in my life. Came down, already had a job set up with Mr. Lanassa. I didn't know about tossing these crates, but you know, I try to hang in there. And old J-Mo, where'd J-Mo go? He got dipped out, you know. "Come on, boy, get up." We got to catch the bus, me, him, and Stopper. Me, him, and Terry, we got to catch the bus to get over there. And like, man, I'm a city boy, man. We don't be tossing crates, man. Can I go work in the sneaker store or something? Damn it, if you want to work, you're going to work with Tony. And I appreciate that, Coach. I appreciate it. I came in Coach Robbins' office, and he had a sign up there, and the sign said, it read something like, "Anybody can be a father, but it takes a special person to be a dad." And that's what you were to us, Coach. You were a dad. I grew up without a father, so it was hard. It was hard for me to receive it in the beginning. It was hard for me to receive it, and I was telling Mr. Lanassa, I was over in, I want to say in Italy, in Rome, and I called you, Coach, and I just thanked you, and I told you I got it. I was probably like 27, 28 years old, but I got it. You know, your words didn't go void, and I didn't want you to think that. So me and Coach over these last 2 or 3 years, we probably talked more than we talked in the last 10 years, but I had to get to a maturity level where I could be receptive to what you were teaching. And that's what it was. I had to do some growing up. And because of you, my kids are following in that footstep. They didn't have to grow up. I made them grow up right away and be responsible. My oldest boy is getting ready to graduate college in 3 years because of you, Coach. In 3 years, went to summer school every summer. I had to go to summer school. He wanted to. And my last year, my junior year on the team, me and Terry were roommates. And we used to sit and we used to talk about what teams we might want to play for in the league. And this wasn't a far-fetched dream to us. This dream wasn't far-fetched to us. It was something that was reality. It was something that was reality because you instilled it in us that, A, you can be anything you wanted to be. And I'm not talking about the basketball part, but I'm way more proud of the man than the basketball. The basketball is what it is. I played basketball. I would have played basketball for free because I loved basketball. It was my anti-everything. It was my way of dealing with the single parent, inner city, and that was my way out. That's what basketball was to me. But because of basketball, I got a chance to meet Dave Robbins. Because of basketball, and that was the blessing. That was the blessing in it. The blessing was, if you listen, because I didn't always listen, but if you listen, this man can help mold you into what you want to be after basketball. And I thank you for that, Coach, and I love you.
Good evening. Good evening. Coach Robbins, Ms. Robbins, all the distinguished guests here. To my mentors, not only from Coach Robbins, but A.J. Terry Davis, Charles Oakley, my homeboy from Alabama, as well as Cleveland, and my man, Ben Wallace. Also, I want to thank Willie Coker for this time. Still remains a very good friend of mine. We often eat lunch, but I hadn't really had a chance to eat with him since he went to the state championship this year. But as I stand here and I listen to Oak, Terry, and AJ, and these guys talk about, Dave driving the meter, my first introduction was not so much that. My first introduction to Dave was over the phone. I was in class my senior year in high school, and I was called down to the athletic director's office, Mr. Newsom. And on the phone, they had Coach Robbins, and also there was Mr. Whitaker. He was an AD at our rival school, Shaw University. He was an alumni from here. Mr. Whitaker was responsible for getting some other players, Charles and a lot of other great players, Jonathan, down to what they called the Cleveland Pipeline. So they called me in, and as I listened to Dave talk, they were setting up a flight, telling me they wanted to bring me down on a visit, first of all. And as I listened to him talk, I said, junior union, I had my mind set on going to junior college, did not want to do black, predominantly black university, but in Cleveland, that's not something that they really talk about. So as they talked about it, and as I listened to him talk on the phone, I said, man, to be a black guy, that's a real Southern draw. I knew nothing about Coach Robbins, had never seen him, had never seen the team play before. Charles and I went to the same high school, so all I knew was that Charles, Big Oak went there. So they get me down here, and Coach Calvin Duncan was an assistant at the time. He picked me up from the airport, and I said, wow, we got a young coach too, So as I looked at him and I walked over, he said, hi, I'm Calvin Duncan, I'm an assistant. I said, okay, so you're not Coach Robbins. So we get over to the gym, and we walk in the gym, strike number one. And as you walk in and you see this gym, it's like, man, I can't play here. So I said, our high school had a better gym. A swimming pool, a track downstairs, a baseball downstairs. I said, this definitely will not be here. So as we walk up on the floor, I see Coach Robbins sitting there, and Coach Coker. So as we walk over, Coach Duncan says, he's going to introduce you to the coaches. So I said, wow, the white guy must be the trainer. So he walks over, he said, hey, this is Coach Coker. He's an assistant coach also. So I look. Then he said, hi, I'm Coach Dave Robbins. And I said, wow, man. Because I just couldn't believe that a predominantly black university, had a white head coach. And that carried on, man, from I think we brought in 6 or 7 freshmen my year. And, I remember AJ room was right next to mine. I spent a lot of time with AJ and Jonathan. And as we played pickup, man, we were allowed to play pickup as red shirts. I went back to the basketball house one day, man, and AJ must have noticed that I left early, so When I get in the room, AJ comes in, you know, what's going on, big fella? And I said, man, I don't think I can play here, you know. AJ said, you know, what's going on? You know, what's the problem? I said, man, you know, it's level of competition. Everybody's a much better player. You know, I just know how to rebound, play a little defense, but all these guys can score. So AJ said, really? I mean, that's what you're basing it on then? I said, yeah, and the guy I played against today really let me have it. And AJ said, you mean the tall, goofy, light-skinned guy? I said, yeah. He said, oh, that's Kendrick Warren. He was a senior in high school. So big fella, you ain't got to worry about him. You know, but Dave was, like as the rest of these guys say, he was a great coach, a great mentor. As Terry said, he made sure whenever you walked in the building, he took your hat off, you know what I mean? And I can remember my first handshake with him in Cleveland. You know, we used to, you know, we got so many different handshakes. Dave hated that. And so when you see him, you know, hey man, white coach, black school, he gotta know the handshake. So as you go over to him to shake his hand, I reach for the thumb. You know, you go long like we do, you know, man, you know how we do. Dave snatched his hand back. Don't give me one of those brother shakes. But you know, he always wanted you to be a gentleman, give a man handshake, you know what I mean? And just, man, as the years went on, you know, I played with some great teammates, but like I say, to play against Charles in the summer, Terry in the summer, you know, you had to get tough. And one thing Dave did, he branded what is called a style, Virginia Union basketball. And I'm gonna say branded, you know, and it carries, you know, so, and when I mean it carried, in '96, myself and once again a fellow Richmond and Kendrick Warren were at camp in Miami Heat. And I remember Pat Riley's first year down, and he was the coach, and the first day of camp, what they said is, you know, you go here, ones over here, twos, threes, fours, fives. I looked around, I said, man, you know, I'm 6'9", but I'm small to be a 5 here, so I eased over in the 4s. And I remember he sent an assistant coach over and told me, no, you go with the 5s. And I didn't understand it. So after practice, as Kendrick and I were leaving, you know, Pat Riley looks at me and he says, hey, you went to Virginia Union, right? And I said, yeah. You know, he said, that's why I put you with the 5s. He said, because I know if you play anything like Oak, you know, that y'all style of basketball would be fine. So it's funny because Kendrick looked at me and Kendrick said, man, all you got to do is foul and you'll make this team. No, really, Virginia Union basketball is you know, it's hard-nosed. As Terry and Oak can tell you, Ben can tell you, we didn't give up any layups. We gave hard fouls, you know. There were practices that we fought. You know, we got into it, but that was all healthy. You know, we never left the gym arguing. But Coach, you've been a mentor as far as for me. You call me all the time, and every phone call is the same. Big D, how many state championships did you win with your AAU team? And I laugh because everyone that you've ever coached runs the same stuff. You know, I've won games running the same stuff. Nev know what I'm talking about. Coker, same thing. You know, when I went to see them play this year, it's like watching you know, watching your teams, you know. Like Terry said, and I mean, most of the guys on my team came from homes that were broken and single-parent mothers. So you were a father, you know, to most. To this day, I still call you and count on you for advice. You know, a lot of times as a father, you know, well, probably most of the time now as a husband. But you give great advice, man, you know. And it's a pleasure knowing you, and I want to thank you for all that you've done for me, all that you've been in my life. I'll never forget it. And I love you, and thank you.
First of all, I want to thank y'all for giving me the opportunity to share such a pleasant day, you know, with my coach and my extended family. You know, I hear other guys call her Miss Robinson. I'm gonna call what he called Miss Bun. So I probably should be calling her mother too. You know, when I came here, you know, I didn't get that 500-mile ride in that white pickup truck. You know, I did mine over the phone. you know, and he didn't call me, so I picked up the phone. I had to call him. And when I spoke with him, and, I told him, I said, I don't have any film of me playing, you know, but I'll be more than happy to come and work out and, you know, play against, you know, whoever you want me to play against. And he helped make my decision a whole lot easier with a couple of words. He said, no, I don't need to see you play. I said, well, how you know what type of player I am? He said, because Charles recommended you. Charles said that you was a man, that you could play this game on any level with anybody. I said, what made Charles an expert? He said, you must be able to play because Charles don't like nobody. So when I got here, man, it was one great thing after another. You know, first, just having an opportunity to come here at a school that was, you know, so beloved by the community and everybody that ever went here. And to see the people come back and show their appreciation day after day, night after night, you know, it made me feel special. Before I had the opportunity to play one game on the court, you know, that from the time I got here, I think I got picked up by Coach Coker at the airport. You know, I was coming from Louisiana. I was leaving McNeese State, Division I school. You know, they had promised me the world, but when I got there, all I wanted to do was play basketball. I didn't need anybody to tell me how great I was or, you know, what I was going to be. You know, just give me opportunity and I can show you. But, you know, after being there, I realized that there was a lot of other things that was going to go along with that opportunity. And me being the man that my mom raised me to be, that, you know, I knew right away that I wasn't going to fit in there. So when I decided to leave, you know, called Coach Robbins. He gave me his blessings that he had got from Charles. Coach Coker picked me up at the bus station. No plane, no plane. So after Coach picked me up, you know, he said, you hungry? You want something to eat? I said, yeah, Coach, you can't get to be my size without eating. I could definitely use a meal. So we went to, what was it called? Was it Bojangles? And we walked in and he pointed at the menu, he was like, go ahead and get what you want. And on the menu was a little, you know, 2-piece, 3-piece, 4-piece combo. So the old coach got his wallet with him. So he brought me to the wrong spot. For a couple of dollars, I need that 15-piece meal. So this is where the story get a little blurry at. The way I remember it is when I asked for that 15-piece, you know, Coach Hogan sort of walked off a little bit, so I figured I was going to have to pay for that 15-piece. But Coach Cogan said he paid for the 15-piece, so, you know.
Let it go.
I'm going to let it go. But like I said, Coach Robbins, you know, we know what he did on the basketball court. You know, we know what type of coach he was. You know, we know what type of person he was when, you know, he put the suit on and put the little flower in his coat pocket, in his jacket pocket, and, you know, step in between those lines. We know that person. You know, we all got a chance to see it. But for all the other things he did that people really never got a chance to see, I'm pretty sure, you know, his family, you know, the wife and kids, everybody, y'all got to see it. But it takes a special type of man to come into a situation and not only be a coach and a mentor, to be a father figure to guys who definitely was in need of a father at that point in time in their life. You know, he stood up, he took on all challenges. You know, I can remember one day I was in practice And I was going through the motion, and everybody asked me, what's wrong, what's wrong? And, you know, being a proud person, I'm like, nothing, I'm fine. But, you know, Coach Robbins, he saw through all the tough guy. He was like, big fella, there's something wrong with you, something bothering you. And, you know, after practice, we need to sit down and have a talk. So we sit down and have that talk, and it was hard for me to talk to any man outside of my family, because my father experience wasn't a great one. You know, I had a father, I knew who he was, he knew me, you know, we spoke, we seen each other, but he wasn't that father that to be there to discipline me when I needed. But, you know, Coach Robbins, he stepped in not knowing that he filled that role. You know, he told me, he said, I know something wrong with you. You know, we can sit down and talk. So we sit down and talk, and, you know, me being stubborn, Coach Robbins being stubborn. So you can imagine how the first 5-10 minutes of that conversation. So it went something like, big fella, you all right? I said, yep, Coach, I'm fine. He said, I don't think you're fine. I said, Coach, I'm fine. He said, well, why don't you just tell me what's wrong? I said, nothing wrong with me, Coach. He said, well, what you got to say for your effort today in practice? I said, I played hard. You know, I said, I got a couple dunks, blocked a couple shots. He said, yeah, you could do that, but you didn't go the extra mile. He said, son, what's wrong with you? I say, I'm fine, Coach, ain't nothing wrong with me. Why don't you keep asking me what's wrong with me? Stop asking me what's wrong with me. If something's wrong with me, I'll tell you, ain't nothing wrong with me. And then the next day in practice, you know, he let it go. Next day in practice, I'm still going through the motion, you know, and he was like, big fella, if it's that bad, son, won't you just leave? Won't you just go home? And I said, all right, fine, I'll go home. You know, I said, I don't have to be here. You know, I got something big on my plate right now. You know, but I know he didn't know, because I didn't tell anyone. At that point in time, my mom was sick, and she was going through some things, and I wanted to be there with her. And, you know, I think I talked to Coach Coker, and then he went and told Coach Robbins. Then the next day, you know, we come in, and he let me do my same thing, go through the motion. And then I think it was a Friday. And he said, after practice, he was like, I heard you like to fish. I said, I'm okay fishing. So he was like, all right, come pick you up in the morning, we're going fishing. So I was ready. He showed up, not on time, early like he always do. So that was my first chance to get to ride in that white truck. And like you say, Coach can keep you entertained with conversation for days. And we got in that truck, and before I knew it, I had told him my life story. I planned on not talking to him at all. So we get on the water, and you know, we start fishing. And he said, throw your line over there. So I throw my line over there, I catch a fish. So I throw it over there. I throw my line over there, I catch another one. I was like, when you gonna start fishing? He was like, I'm gonna let you get ahead, then I'm gonna weigh you out. So we fish, and you know, I think at that day, you know, we really bonded. You know, I got to know, not only I got to know a lot about him, but I got to know a lot about myself, that it was okay to let people, you know, on the inside, you know, it was okay to let those walls down and accept people into your life. You know, not everybody is out to criticize or hurt you. And, you know, he made me, you know, recognize that, you know, in order to be a man, I have to admit my faults and allow other people to help me. If I couldn't allow other people to help me, then it was just only gonna hold me back and stunt my growth. So I wanna thank him for that. I wanna also thank him for being who he said he was, or who we all think he is. You know, he's not only just a great coach, and you know, I heard him tell stories about, you know, if you walk the talk and you live the life of being a great person all the time, you don't have to worry about people sitting around trying to make up stories about who you are. You know, I know, you know, we said a lot of things, got a lot of laughs, but this is true. It's all true. And, you know, I remember one time sitting down talking to him, you know, I think like 5 minutes into the conversation. You know, I was like, all right, coach, I'm about to run back to the house or whatever. When I was living in the basketball house, I'll run back to the basketball house, you know, take a shower. lay down for a minute. And I was walking out the office, and he said, that's all you gonna do for your birthday? You know, that made me think, like, I know I didn't tell him today was my birthday. You know, I don't really like to celebrate my birthday for real. But, you know, for him to know that at that point in time, it meant a lot. And then come to find out, by the end of the day, that the day was his birthday too. So if I can count on one person to call me on my birthday, it's always gonna be Coach Robbins. And he know he called me on my birthday. I'm gonna pick up and wish him, try to wish him a happy birthday before he wish me a happy birthday. And like I say, not only just a coach, a father figure, a brother, an uncle, but most of all, a friend, a true friend. You know, he's just not a great person. He's introduced me to a lot of other great people. And when you's a great person like he is and got a big heart like him, you know, all the other good people in the world enjoy being around you. You know, they love your character. You know, they love his little corny jokes, little magic tricks. Coach, you ever show you one with the quarter? But, you know, like everybody say, man, he taught me life lessons. You know, it have been times when, you know, even in my professional career where, you know, I'm dealing with coaches that just doesn't quite, you know, understand, you know, what basketball mean to me and, you know, what I would do just to be on that floor. And a lot of times we get, you know, we bump heads and, you know, they say I was being difficult and hard to deal with. I say y'all are being difficult and hard to deal with. And surprisingly, one day I was having it out with a coach when I was in Cleveland. And it was like, who's the best coach you ever played for? I said, well, that got to do with anything. It's like, well, we might just hire him. I said, Coach Robbins. He's still there. So then they surprised me. You know, we was in training camp my last year in Cleveland. We was in training camp, and he told me, you know, take the day off. Say, no, I'm gonna practice. It's like, all right, we got some, you know, got somebody coming in or whatever that, you know, we want them to speak to the team or whatever. I was like, all right, that's cool. And who walked through the door? The white shadow himself. But once again, I want to thank you, Coach. You know, I want to also thank your family for allowing him to spend that time with us. You know, I know he's been a great husband, a great father to y'all, but he's been a great father figure, a great friend to us as well. And y'all are very, very special to us, not only him, but especially to us. Because I figure if y'all can deal with it your entire life, I can deal with it.
Just for the record, I'm not the greatest memory of Coach Robbins. Coach Underwood. Woo! First of all, good evening. And welcome. It's a great, great event. Coach Robbins is well deserving of it. One of the things that Coach Robbins used to tell people is that I would be the president of a bank one day. So, you know, I'm sitting at the table and I'm thinking, you know, I got Ben, I got AJ, I got Terry, I got Oak. You know, today seems like a really good day to start a bank. Once I start that bank, you know, I can, you know, kind of match Dr. Roy and his wife. And here we go, we're off on the road. Just a little bit of background that a lot of people don't know about me and my family is back when Malcolm X was assassinated, you know, my grandfather officiated the funeral. All right, and it was a time when Malcolm X was pretty much untouchable. So he took on the responsibility to you know, bury the man, pretty much. So leadership was something that's been instilled in my bloodline. My grandfather to his son, with my father, and to his sons. So when I came to Virginia Union, you know, it was one of those things that was kind of a mutual respect between Coach Robbins and I. You know, he also threatened to send me back to Virginia State, but if I didn't act right. But no, I mean, I think from day one, we kind of hit it off. I've always been an easy person to coach. I think that the coach's vision is important, and as a point guard, I think I'm the only point guard that's Keith. He's more of a scoring guard. But we're not gonna get into that. And Kobe, point guard right there. But you know, as point guards, we understand how important it is to kind of illustrate the coach's vision, and that's, you know, that's how you earn your honors, is us being able to do exactly what the coach needs you to do. So I didn't get a whole lot of slack from Coach. You know, Coach didn't he didn't argue with me, he didn't yell at me, and you know, I got a lot of grief from the guys from that. You know, but he always put me on the spot. He always put me on the spot. We're in the locker room. We may be down a point or two, but we're playing bad. You know, he's like, you know, Luke is the only one hustling out there. I'm like, Coach. You know, everybody's turning looking at me. He's like, Luke, he has a 3.0, 3 kids, he's working, playing 40 minutes. And he's looking around the locker room, he's like, what's wrong with you guys? You know, and it was great. It was a great decision for me. You know, my first year I went to Virginia State, and the demand to be disciplined wasn't there. The demand to be disciplined wasn't there, and you know, the team in itself just kind of pretty much moved and mobilized like they wanted to do. So I had a couple years to reflect on that, and I came to Coach Robbins, a grown man, married, children, focused, and I think that's what he saw in me and allowed me to lead the team right away. He didn't hesitate. He didn't make any excuses for anybody else. He just told me as long as I came in and worked hard, which is what I planned on doing anyway, you know, that I could earn my right to be the point guard for the team. And I say earn my right because that's what I did every day. And anybody who's played with me or played against me or seen me play knows that as long as I'm on the court, you're gonna know I'm there. So I appreciate that, Coach. Moving on a little bit, you know, senior year, we have a veteran squad, Hargrove, Crockett, Walton, Brown. You know, we got Arthur Kidd in the cuffs. And I think Coach was getting kind of bored. I mean, because we were just reeling them off. Offense was running smooth. Everybody kind of knew the nuances of the offense and the different reads, and on the defense. And you know, you can see Coach get antsy sometimes on the sideline. He'd stand up and he'd just start calling plays. Just calling plays. 2 game, quick. You know, 2 pick. And one game he's calling plays and nothing's happened. I mean, we had a stalemate. We probably have a score for about 5 or 6 minutes. He calls a timeout. Damn it. Y'all not doing nothing I say. Won't y'all just listen to Luke? And man, after that timeout, boy, we look good. We look good. So, I mean, you know, winning is boring sometimes. And I'm glad we were able to make it a little bit boring for you, Coach, because, you know, we were able to get to the national championship and win. So I just want to thank you for giving me that second opportunity to come in and not give me anything, but allow me to prove myself, which is what anybody can ask for. You know, that's all anybody wants, is a chance to prove themselves, and you gave that to me. And you know, most of the coaches' conversations with me were about life, about religion, about family, and different things like that. Basketball, for he and I, it would take care of itself, because we did have, you know, some like minds. And Coach would call me, always say, "Let's go double, drop back to circle. Coach, we got it." And I appreciate him for that. But if I take one thing away from Coach, and I think everybody can take this away from Coach, is that he was a stickler for details. Details were important. You know, in the 2 game, how you ran your cut was as important as you getting open to get the ball. You know, just getting open wasn't enough, but you had to run the cut right. And the reason was because everything built upon something else. And you talk about building something, you know, it was a foundation. The first cut was a foundation for the next cut. You know, eyes and hands, back door, you know, coming over the top. All of those were reads and things that we need to understand that we had to execute perfectly in case we need to make adjustments. And, you know, that to me, you know, translates to life in a glorious way. Because when you do everything perfect, even still, you're going to be challenged with something different. All right? And what do you have to do when you're challenged with something different? You make adjustments. All right? And that's what we all do in our life. You know, we do everything as perfect as we can. The X's and O's don't always look like the X's and O's. But you prepare and you practice. And at the end of the day, if you paid attention to the details, you can make the right adjustment to further your life in the right direction. So thank you again, Coach. Love you. As y'all can see, you know, the hair was lighter at the beginning. And as they came up, it got darker, so I'm still young. And you know, still excited about the game of basketball, the game of life, and still playing it on various levels in, you know, my kids' life and other people's children's life, and young adults and people seeking opportunities to better themselves. And, you know, it's not just the basketball, but it's what you take away from it that you can apply to your daily life. And to me, at the end of the day, when you understand the correlation between the skills and the acumen of a basketball player to that of a businessman, that's when you can be successful. So, again,
I got 2 sets of glasses, so if I get choked up a little bit, I'm going to put my dark ones on, but right now I'm going to go with these. Dr. Perkins, thank you so much for thinking of this event. He told me a year ago we were going to have it, and it couldn't have been better, and I really appreciate it. Joe Taylor, you can tell Joe is a great football coach. I've always respected him as a coach, but when he came as AD, he's all about business, and can't tell you the meetings he's had to put this on and walkthroughs. I mean, he's about looking under every rock and doing everything that needs to be done, and great job, Joe, and I really appreciate all you did. I'm just simply going to say the committee, Dennis, Thomas, Deborah, Jerome, and Jim Juno, thanks for all your work. Chip, great job tonight. He did the best show in town for years, and you can't imagine how much that helped us to be able to recruit D1 type players. We had a TV show, and we were one of the very few D2 schools in the country, and maybe the only one that had a first class show. And of course, Chip, you carried me for years, and to your young son, Davis, you need to be proud of your dad. He's a great man. But thank you, Chip. To Dr. James, who hired me. You know, he caught a lot of flack. It wasn't popular to hire a white coach at a predominantly black school. But at the time, I didn't realize that Portia, who was his daughter, who was a cheerleader at TJ, was talking to Daddy at home. and said, you need to look at our coach, you need to look at our coach. So when Coach Harris came in to talk to Dr. James, Coach Harris was very persuasive, and he decided to give me a chance, and I interviewed with Dr. James and Mrs. James, and Portia was there, and I remember Dr. James asked Coach Harris, he said, can you get the boy to cut his hair? Long hair at the time, so anyway, and I told Coach, yeah, I'd sure cut it to be able to come over and coach. And I thought the world of Coach Harris. He was like a father to me. I talked to him every night, saw him every day, and you saw on the film, he was vindicated, as was Dr. James. When we were successful, and I really appreciate both of them, and I miss Coach Harris, and Dr. James, you're very, very special to me. To my assistants, great assistants over the years, I'm just going to read the list. Jim Battle, who had a family reunion, couldn't be here. He came with me, was my assistant for 18 years. Charles Benson, Derwin Lilly, Art Flood, Monty Knight, Michael Perry, Jonathan Walker, Rick Jackson, and Calvin Duncan. Those were the guys that helped me over the years. When I quit coaching, Jerome Furtado he was not a basketball man. Jerome was a football man, but he would do anything you asked him to do. And so he was very helpful in so many different ways, and helped us be successful. Moses Golad, Moses and Feeney are here tonight. Moses came from St. Paul, helped me the first, I don't know if it was a year or two, but he helped me, and Moses got more out of his team at St. Paul's than any of us did. We'd go down there and play them, we would be so much more talented than they were, but boy, they would play us hard. So when I got a chance to have Mo come and join our staff, I did, and then he went on to coach the ladies and did a very fine job. Brian Underwood. Brian was a player. He's Ben's nephew. Wasn't as talented as some of the other players, but learned the game. Brian knew everything that we did and knew it well. They needed a ladies coach at one point, and he took over and ran the ladies program very successfully, and an excellent teacher. Then went on to Virginia State and helped them, and I believe when Brian was an assistant, the first time Virginia State beat us in some 23 or 24 games. So Brian went down there, and I don't know if he told them what we were doing, but he sure helped them. Mike Walker. I told Mike when he came, where's Mike? Mike right here. He was coaching in high school, and he decided to hang it up in high school, and he came to watch us play one day, and I could tell he wanted to get back in it. I said, Mike, I don't have any money. If you want to come as a volunteer, I'd like to have you. And then he was with us for years and years and years. Mike was the best scouter. I mean, Mike would watch a team, and he'd come back, and he had every play they ran. Of course, I'd always tell Mike, I don't want to know what they do. All I want to know is who the best shooters are, what kind of defense do they play, do they press, and do they like to be pressed. And he would come back, and if a guy went to the bathroom twice, he wrote down that he left to go to the bathroom twice. I'd say, well, Mike, I don't need to know that. He would say, well, late in the game, he might have to be taken out. Mike did a fine job for us. Terry Davis. Terry, in 2005, he worked with our big men, and I was sort of ashamed to send him down to work with the big men because the big men were 6'4", and AJ and them were guards at 6'4" and stuff. But Terry did a super job for us. We played in North Dakota, and we only had, the NCAA would only fly X number of people to the game. Terry drove to North Dakota to coach. And Terry just a superhuman being, and would be a great coach. Right now he's watching Ed, his son, who he just said signed with the Lakers, and we're proud of everything that Ed is doing, and Terry, I appreciate your help.
Thank you.
Pierce Callahan. Coach Callahan is no longer with us. he was a great high school coach at Maggie Walker High School. When he stopped coaching and I realized I had a chance to hire him, you know, I had friends say, you don't want to hire him because he'll stab you in your back because y'all went at each other in high school. So, furthest thing from the truth. He was the most loyal coach, smart, just a great basketball mind. Best recruit in Richmond. He got us some great players out of Richmond. And
Come on, Coach.
It's all right.
Come on, baby.
It's all right. It's all right.
I'll get it out in a second.
It's all right.
One of the toughest days I ever had was to tell the team that Coach Cal had passed. And I remember we all cried together. But his son, PJ, and Patrice are here. And I know you're proud of your dad, and I'm sure he's smiling down on us tonight. Willard Coker, what can I say about Coach Coker? He played for us on the 1980 National Championship team. When he first came here, and he's told people this, he didn't play for me his first year. He didn't know if he could play for a white coach. He had never had a white coach. And Keith and those guys did so well, Coach Coker decided that he wanted to play the next year, and he never started. He was a backup, but so instrumental in everything we did. I think he made 10 of 11 foul shots in the national championship game in 1980, and Keith alone knows just how, what a great player he was. He was a super assistant, and the only thing that Ben told on that story about the chicken that Ben did pick the 15-piece bucket, and I did. Coach Coker will attest. I gave him the money, so I know Coach Coker paid for it. The rest of that story is they came back to the basketball house, and some of the guys smelled that chicken and came downstairs, and they welcomed Ben. They said, "Hey, big fella, we're so glad you're here, and we've heard so much about you, and we're, you know, glad you decided to come join us." And that bus trip was by McNeese State. They called me and tried to get me to fly Ben in, and it was against the rules, so I couldn't, Jackie. I had to say, look, y'all got to get him here. And so they sent him on a bus, and he traveled on the bus about 2 days, and when he got that 15-piece bucket, he carried it back to the house, and several of the guys came down smelling that chicken, and they said, "Hey, big fella," one of them said, "What about a piece of that chicken?" And Ben said, "I don't know you like that." He told one of them, "I'll give you a biscuit." Some other special people, Mrs. Simmons. It was a tough week last week. We lost Dr. Simmons, and Mrs. Simmons, the former First Lady, is class personified, as Dr. Simmons was. He was the finest president that I ever worked for, and he knew the importance of athletics and academics. He always listened. He called me in. We were in our heyday and whipping a lot of people and whipping the D1s and line up and play us. And he said, "Coach, should we go D1?" I said, "Dr. Simmons, we don't have enough to even be a legitimate D2, and we can't go D1 because it would just cost so much with all the sports." And he said, "Done deal. We're not going. We'll stay D2." So he was a very wise man, and he's the only president that ever called me in and told me I was due a raise. He would just say, "Coach, we want to keep you, and it's time for you to get a raise." And he also gave me a 5-year contract that he renewed every year. So I always had a 5-year contract. He didn't let that forward. Mrs. Simmons, thank you so much for coming. And Dal the third, Dal Jr. couldn't be here, he's out of town, but thank you, Dal, for bringing your grandmama, and we love you. Tony Lanassa. He's already been talked about, so I really won't take much time. But Tony's been a dear friend, and the one thing Tony would do, he would work the guys. But when they worked for him, he would call me up and he said, that boy not gonna make it. He's not gonna make it. And I said, well, why is that? He said, hell, he won't work in the pie factory. And he was always right. The ones that wouldn't work never made it on the team. They went by the wayside. But them horses, he said, hey, that's a stud there, and they turned out to be great players. So thank you, Tony. Tom Folliard. Tom is the CEO of CarMax. Got one of the, a multi-million-dollar business. First time I ever went to see him, he came out in jeans and a t-shirt. So, here he is, the CEO, and I think he and his wife, Mary, I kidded her and wondered how many times he'd been in a suit, because he doesn't go to work that way, but he's down to earth. He's been our big supporter of ours. He bought the scoreboards for the gymnasium. We never had scoreboards at both ends, and he put those in. He was instrumental. He was on the NCAA committee, and he at least put my name forward for the National Collegiate Hall of Fame, and I would have never made it if Tom hadn't have told him about the little school in Richmond, Virginia. And Tom, I appreciate it. Tom's dad was a great coach. Tom was an excellent player. He's got a son that just finished as a scholarship basketball player and got a daughter playing in college now. And I think they got their looks from their mama, and they got their basketball ability from Tom. But thank you, Tom, for all you've done for us. Bill Cruz. Is Bill still here? Okay, Bill hadn't left. I tell you how I met Bill. I met him at a restaurant one night, and I had my whole family and my mother and father-in-law, and I think a couple other people, and I went over to pay the bill, and it had been paid. And they said Mr. Cruz took care of it. And he told me a story. He said that Benny Lambert came to him when the job came open in 1978 and said, Bill, I need you to put up $15,000. We're trying to get Hal Greer as our coach. Well, the salary here at Union was $12,000, and Hal Greer wanted $50,000. And Hal was a great NBA player, so Bill came up with his money, but some of the other guys didn't. So, lucky for me, they didn't raise that $50,000. I was second choice, or third, or fourth, or fifth choice. I don't know how many people turned it down, but Bill told me that story, and he's given to us. He's really been very kind to us financially over the years, and anytime I need a little something, Bill's always there to help. Judy Kelly, his significant other, have been dear friends of Bunny and I, and we appreciate you folk. And Bill was kind enough to let my daughter Julie be married at his home or his estate, and Dr. Chapman did the service. And Ben was talking about birthdays, and Julie is my youngest daughter here. I was going to introduce him later, but her son Bo, the little fella, was also born on our birthday, so that was quite a present. Dr. Royal and Mrs. Royal, from day one, they have been the first family to us. Their children followed us. They were just kids when I first started coaching. Their son was our ball boy in 1978, and he was just a little fella, and now he's a doctor, and the two daughters are doctors, and one of the son-in-laws is a doctor, and the other is a judge. So, guys, their family has been so successful. And Miss Pamela Royal, she's so kind, and you heard what Dr. Royal said about helping the university. And I'm honored to have a scholarship in my name, but it's not about me, it's about who the young men will help. So if you got an envelope, you can send us a few dollars, please do. And Dr. Royal and his family have been great and supported us all these years. Craig Cooley. if you need a criminal defense attorney, he is the best. He is the best. Craig has been very helpful. He sent a nice check in here for this affair tonight. The guys talk about the basketball houses and how close they were as teammates, and they made lifelong friends. Well, Mr. Cooley stepped up and was heavily involved in purchasing the houses, and it wasn't to make money, but it was, he saw the importance of our guys living together, and you know, our wins and losses went up tremendously because they were with each other 24 hours a day. They had a coach in each house. Marcus Clark lived with one of the guys, one of the houses. Coach Coker lived in the other, and we knew what time they came in and what time they went to bed and what time they got up, but still they became very close. And Mr. Cooley has been a dear, dear friend, and I really appreciate you, Craig. Berkeley Pickles. When the film got started, you might not have noticed that Berkeley's dad was on the commercial for Ace Electric. If you need any electrical work, Ace Electric's the best in town. They're doing our new building over here. And Berkeley and Barbara have been just supporters to the utmost. He wrote a check tonight for this thing that shocked me. I don't want to say what it was, but it was a whole lot of money. And it was very nice of Berkeley to do that. One year we were having trouble having our TV show, and I went to see his dad, and what had happened, we lost a sponsor, a bank, because the football team went out ahead of me, and they've been sponsoring the TV show, and they gave to the football team. So when I went to see them, they said, well, we don't have any more money. So the show was getting ready to air, but in order to have it, we needed another sponsor. So I went to Mr. Pickles, Berkeley's dad, and I said, Mr. Pickles, I hope you'll be able to help us again this year, and I need you. And he said, well, Coach, I'm just not going to be able to do one. I'm not going to be able to do one this year. And of course, that took my breath, and I said, well, I understand. He said, but I'm going to do two. So he did 2 commercials, double, and so we made up for whatever. And Berkeley, thank you. Barbara, thank you. And you've been dear friends of ours. Dr. Walton Bell. Dr. Bell was here when I got here. He was here before. He's had some health issues. He's had a stroke. I went to see him not too long ago, but time flies, so I guess it's been a couple of 3 months. But Clyde Bell is here, his brother, and I actually called Clyde to see if he could get Dr. Bell to come, but he just said Dr. Bell had a rough week and he wouldn't be able to come. He's in a wheelchair, but if you'll please keep him in your prayers. He's a fine man, and he's given so much to this university. I'm going to try to cut this a little shorter. Jackie McWilliams, Jackie, I give you credit. She coached Ben's senior year with us, and she taught Ben everything he knew, and she's a delight to be around, and will be a great commissioner. She really knows what she's doing. She's sharp, gets along with everybody, and Jackie, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us tonight. Keith Valentine. Keith, I had Keith in junior high, and we whipped everybody in the city. He went to TJ, I went to TJ. Charlie Cooper hired me, Lloyd's Wellness, the football coach who was one of my teammates, gave me a good recommendation, said I was a pretty good basketball coach. I don't know if he lied or not, but I got the job, went over it, and Keith led us to the state championship. I don't know what happened to Otis Fulton. Otis had called and asked could he come say a few words, and then I don't know if he got confused on what night it was, but he wasn't able to get here. But Keith was the best guard in the state of Virginia. He went to the University of North Carolina, and when he told me he was going to come back home, he was homesick, he wanted to come home, I did my best to talk him out. I was still at TJ. I said, Keith, you don't want to leave Carolina, you're playing for Dean Smith. He was backing up field forward, but getting a lot of playing time as a freshman, and I did my best to talk him out of coming. But he didn't listen. He came to Virginia Union, And then some 2 years later, I got the job. And when I got here, you know, I was told by other people that Keith called the team together and said, "You're gonna think this white man's crazy. If you listen to him, we'll win." And when we did, we won that first CIAA tournament, and Keith was instrumental, won the national championship the next year. And you know, I just can't say enough about what Keith has done for me, and he is a winner. Everywhere he's ever gone, he's won. And Keith, thank you so much for sharing those kind words earlier. Charles Oakley, you know, what can I say about Big Charles? Was a horse when he came, but people don't realize Charles was 215 pounds when he got here. He looked thin, but he was mean. When he left, he was 255 pounds. And, you know, when you're a lottery pick, that says a whole lot about you. And Charles will tell you, I rode him hard. I rode him hard. I'll tell the story, and he doesn't like to hear it, but he was late one time, and I told Charles, I said, "Charles, you know, I covered for you." In fact, I went in, made a phone call, told Coach Coker, you know, I'd be back in a minute, went in, called my wife, and just chatted a minute, came back out, and Big Oak was on the bus, and we went down the road. So after the game, I called him, I said, "Charles, if you're late again, I'm gonna leave you." And he laughed. "Yeah, Coach, yeah. Now you can leave." I mean, he's National Player of the Year, averaging 18 rebounds a game, 24 points a game. We needed that big fella. So I came out the very next game, and he wasn't on the bus. So I said, "We leaving at 11 o'clock, and I looked at my watch, it hit 11, and we left. And we got out on Brook Road, and the team said, wait a minute, Oak not here." And I said, "Let's go. We're going down to Salisbury, going to North Carolina." We got out on 95, and the team was saying, "He going back and get Oak. He's not going to leave Oak. He's going back and get Oak." We got down to about Raleigh, and I heard one of them say, "I believe he left Oak." Years later, when Charles was a great player in the NBA and everybody adored him, he came back and he gave a talk to the team about not being late. And he said he learned a tough lesson, and I hated to leave that big thing, and I'll be honest with you, every time the door opened down in Salisbury, I was hoping he was going to come in there. But Nathan Needley, a backup, filled in for Charles. Jamie led us in scoring that game, and Nathan, I think, scored 18. And Charles was mad at me for a while, but he got over it, and you know, I would say this, most of my players hated my guts when they played here, but they tend to like me when they graduate. But anyway, Terry Davis, you know, Terry talked about his first year and it being tough, and actually Terry called his mother, and he said, "Mama, I'm gonna come home." And you know, his mama said, "Terry, you need to rethink that. You need to rethink that." And so he came in the next day and he told me he was going to stay. And what Terry doesn't realize is, had he gone home, I'd have been in South Boston the next day, and I'd have been trying to talk him into coming back. But I couldn't let him know that. But Terry is the most respectful of all the players. It's always yes ma'am, no ma'am, thank you. He calls Mother's Day, he calls on Father's Day, he calls Christmas, Easter. You know, Terry is just a fine young man, and he had a great career in the NBA. And there again, he worked for Mr. Lanassa, and Terry was like 190 pounds, might have been 185 when he came. And he started lifting them big old bags of potatoes and watermelon, and he became a man. And he's changed his diet, started eating right, 3-time All CIAA, I think 2 or 3-time Player of the Year. And you know, I said what I said on the film. I mean, he did some things better than Charles Oakley, and Charles was a great player in the NBA at that time. So Terry was the next Charles, and each one of them opened the door for someone else. Jamie Waller, who I hated he wasn't on the program tonight, but Jamie was a first-team All-American, a second-round draft choice. He was as fine a player as ever came through. His jersey's retired in the gym, and you know, we couldn't have too many speakers, and the committee sort of told me what we could have, and they picked you know, some players, but, you know, Jamie called and said he wanted to come, and he was willing to come and buy a ticket, and I think a lot of Jamie. He also helped the girls. He helped Coach Golad, and did a great job with that. So Jamie, thank you for coming. AJ, human highlight film. Just, I mean, it's pound for pound as good a player as we've ever had. He's the only player I ever had that didn't want to come out of practice. I don't know if AJ remembers this, but somebody took the ball from him one time and went the other way. And AJ goes in and blocks the shot on the board and busted his eye open under his eyebrow. So I carried him to the hospital, and they stitched it up. I left Coach Coker and whomever in charge, I can't remember at the time, but we went to the hospital, and I don't know how many stitches he got, and he, you know, he had a concussion, and they had to put 6 or 8 or 10 stitches in it, and we came back, and he got mad at me because I wouldn't put him in practice. He wanted to come back and practice some more. And I told him, no, hey, you got to take off today. And one thing he didn't tell you, when he went to China, being the only D2 player, guess who led the United States team in scoring? AJ English. You know, he was the best player they had. AJ played for the Bullets for 2 years, and they just didn't offer him enough money the 3rd year. He could go to Europe, make a whole lot more money, and you know, you follow the money. He went to Europe, had a great career, and but he was a human highlight film, as you saw. I'm very proud of you, AJ, and he's got 2 young sons that can play too. I was hoping we might get one of them, but I don't know. We got hang in there. And the kid Ray that he talked about, he's the next AJ English. I mean, if there's anybody in the program right now that can be another AJ English, it's Ray. He's a great player, and AJ sent him here. Derrick Johnson, big Derrick. I knew when he came to visit, he didn't want to come here. I could tell that, you know, it just didn't turn him on. But you know, we talked to him and let him know how much we want him. We know what he could do. And in that first year, AJ and Jonathan Walker and that bunch, I mean, they won about 27 games, but Derrick and Troy and Reggie and Walter Hurd and that bunch just wore them out every day. When we had freshmen, we lost Terry, then we lost AJ, and we went up to UDC. Will Jones, who passed away this year, was a great coach, and we went in there, and nobody knew anything about the 91 team. It was Derrick's first year, and Troy's, and Reggie, and all that crowd, and Warren Peoples, and anyway, we go in up there, and I walk in, and I knew Will well, so when I walk in the gym, Will said, "Shadow! Shadow!" He hollowed across the gym. So I walk over there. He said, "Shadow, I'm gonna whip you tonight." And I said, "Well, let me ask you something, Will." I said, and we had all these freshmen. I said, "Will, if our team beats you, will you admit I'm a better coach than you are?" And I was joking, you know, because Will had a real good team. He said, "Shadow," said, "I'll give you a week to draw a crowd and go to the Capitol and announce to the world you're a better coach than I am. That sorry bunch you got." Well, we put about a 23 or 4 or 5 point whipping on him. And after the game, he came down and I shook his hand. I said, "Go ahead and say it, Will." And he said, "Say what?" I said, "Say I'm a better coach than you are." And he said, "You the luckiest son of a bitch I ever saw." I'm jumping around here, but Ben, what can I say about Ben? And Charles, the only player Charles ever recommended was Ben Lawton. And Charles, who grew up in Alabama, went down to Alabama to do a camp, and he called me up. He said, and I was always after Charles, find me a big man. I need me another you. And he called me, and he said, "Coach, I think I got you a player." And first thing I said, is he a big man? And I remember what Charles said. He said, no, he's not real big, but he sure is a man. So I knew I didn't need to see Ben. I knew at Charles' record, because I mean, I recruited a bunch of kids from Cleveland, not D, but I mean some other guys that maybe didn't hang around but a year or so. And Charles would tell me, hell, he couldn't play. I knew he wasn't going to stay. But anyway, Ben, great career. We went out to Detroit, and he treated us all to watch him play. Larry Brown called me one time, and I don't even know if Ben knows this, but Larry called me and said, you know, Ben's sulking a little bit, and what can I do to keep Ben happy? And I said, call some plays for him. You know, call, you know, Ben's play. So I heard from Larry 10 days or 2 weeks later. He said, Coach, we come down and we go to Big Ben. And I said, he's not going to take a bad shot. He'll get an assist. He's going to do something. And he said, when he called me, he said, I tell you what, we go to Ben, and Ben's going to take us where we need to go. And he said, and his rebounds have gone up since we go to Ben. So I always appreciated that from Larry Brown, and that's the way you keep Ben happy. Give him the ball sometimes. Luke Mon, you know, excellent player. Coach on the floor, smart as a whip, played hard. You know, our 2005 team had no business of winning the national championship. We were going to North Dakota, and I told Miss Bunn, my wife, I said, honey, I'll be home tomorrow. I said, I'm going to take one suit. And no, we were playing Metro State. We had about 800 on campus, and they had 19,000. We were playing them, and I mean, I just know, they shot like 65% in the three-point range and just beat somebody to death in the regional final, and I knew we had no chance. We went in there, and they showed the utmost respect for the name Virginia Union. And our little old guys just wore them out. And we had two post people, 6'4". We had Dwan Crockett was about 6'6", and Darius was about 6'4", 6'5", and Luke. And we jumped on them and just beat them down, and then we advanced, and the next thing I know, we playing for the national championship. And you saw on the film, Luke was instrumental in our win. You know, my thoughts are that Willard Coker did an excellent job as coach, but for whatever reason, they let Coach go. Luke came in and did an adequate job, but the one thing he didn't have was experience. And you know, somebody said, how did you become a decent coach? Well, you learn from your mistakes. You know, I wasn't a good coach early on. I probably wasn't a very good coach late, but you learn from what I call grabbing that old hot pot. You turn that thing loose, and you don't keep reaching over and grabbing that hot pot. But I sort of jumped around, and something I wanted to say about Willard Coker, he was as loyal as the day was long, and everybody liked Coach Coker. In fact, when he was hired as head coach, I told him, this is the first day that you're the SOB, because they hate the head coach, but they love him. But we were eliminated, I think, the only time we ever lost in the first round of the CIAA tournament, and there was some influential alumnus that came to Coach Coker after the game. And we were loading up. I told the team I'd have them back in Richmond before sundown. And we were getting on the bus, and they called Coach Coker aside, and they said, pardon the expression, but they said, it's time we have a brother talk. Now, what that means is let's get rid of the white guy. But they said, it's time we have a brother talk. So Coach Coker just gets his phone out and starts punching my number in. He said, let me call Coach Robbins and get him down here, and we'll have that brother talk. He said they scattered like hell. So that was loyalty, and I really appreciate him. And as somebody else said, he took over a team at George Wythe, who had only won 1 or 2 games in the last couple of years. And in his second year, he had a winning season first year, second year took him to the state championship. And he's landed on his feet, and I know Luke will. Luke's just smart as a whip, and he can be the bank president someday. Others I wanted to mention, and I won't I'm just going to mention you. Vicki Kiger. Vicki, thank you for all you do. Martins, she's been on board from day one. Morgan Edwards, my principal at Thomas Jefferson, has been a longtime fan, a huge friend of Dr. Perkins. Marcus Clark, I call Marcus anytime I need to know something. Marcus was just a great person here, and he's the AD at Shaw, but he knew all the rules, and if I ever had a question, I would call him. That probably means you need to hurry up and sit down. Cliff Porter, one of my kids I helped coach in football with Lloyd Swellness, at TJ, a quarterback, been a supporter of ours. I've already talked about Jamie. Mike Martin is here tonight. There were two fine shooters that will come out from Martinsville, Virginia. One of them was Tony Dallas, and the other was Mike Martin. Arnold Henderson. Arnold played with Keith and Otis on the state championship team at TJ in 1975, and he held the record for assists in a 2-game tournament. I think he had something like 18 assists in 2 games and held that record for many, many years. Arnold, thank you for supporting us and coming. Bruce Spraggins, one of the greatest players that ever played here. Bruce came long before me. I've seen a picture of him where he was about 2 feet above the rim playing in the ABA. He was a great, great player. Bruce, thanks for your support. I mentioned Lloyd Swellness, longtime friend, supported us in our golf tournament. Lloyd would get out and he could raise $1,000. He'd call a bunch of friends and they'd have to contribute. Lloyd, thank you for that. Finney Adams. Finney was my old roommate. He was instrumental in my first date with my wife, Bunny, and I give him credit for introducing us, so to speak. And he says that, well, I say that it's been heaven for me the last 40 years. Finney said that Bunny hadn't spoken to him in the last 40 years. Ronnie Harmon. Ronnie, back in 1969, was my assistant at West Hampton. He had a little son that I saw from day one, but when he was about 2 or 3, he started shooting a basketball, and that was Vance Harmon. Vance came here, one of the few white players we ever had. Vance played on that national championship team in '92. Derrick and that bunch, in 4 years, they were 110 and 14, and that's a great, great record. And Ronnie's been a dear friend, and Vance has turned into a heck of a coach. He's taken his team to the state finals the last 3 years, and they won the state championship a year ago. Johnny Newman, great player from the University of Richmond. I didn't get a chance to coach him, but I'd love to. Played a long time in the NBA. He's came with Charles tonight. Johnny, thank you for coming. Johnny's been a friend, and he helps out anytime I ask him to. Ray Neblett came in. Ray was a terrific player. He's working in the inner city with inner city kids. He's running a camp on campus now, and Ray's excellent example of someone that made a mistake once in his life, but he's rebounded and he's truly helping the inner city youth. Now I've gotten to my family, and I hope I won't tear up. I'm just gonna, my sister's here, Beth Renfro, and her husband, my brother-in-law. Beth, you want to wave? Beth and her husband, Cannon. They brought David and Sally Abraham with them from Norfolk. We appreciate y'all coming. My lovely family, Julie. Is Julie stepped out? In the back? Okay, Julie's back there. She's the baby of the family. Couple of quick stories. Well, Julie is here. Her husband was here, but he had to drive back to Washington. You probably saw my little grandson. Oh, he's there?
He's not there.
Oh, is Andy still there? Okay, but anyway, I'm so proud of them. You know, nothing like grandchildren, and his name is Bo, B-E-A-U, Bo, and he was born on my birthday, and as I said, that was a great gift. Their last name is Brocado, Andy and Julie Brocado and Bo Brocado. My lovely daughter here, Sherry. I have Sherry here, and that beautiful little girl there is my granddaughter. That's Gwendolyn, and my son-in-law, Chris Stringer, and our other grandson, Jack, is 9, and he was out of town and couldn't be here tonight. But I'm so proud of them. Both daughters have got good husbands, and they're good to them and kind to them, and that makes Mama and Daddy happy. My wife, Bunny, is the love of my life, and you know, she's put up with me for 40 years, and I hope we'll have 40 more. But she's always thought of the kids, the players, as her sons, as I have. And yes, she did take the practice stuff and the game stuff home to wash the first couple of years when we didn't have washing machines, and I didn't want to go out and do it, so I'd carry it home at night, and she'd do it for us. You know, this is a great tribute, and I've always said coaching is about 5% of it. It's 95% players, and you know, I have been blessed to have this bunch of young men come through here, and Union has been a terrific place to work. You know, they have been far better to me than I have to them, and when Chip tells the story about how many, or Joe told the story about how many CIAA we won, we didn't win them all, but we always played hard, and our young men walked in, and we were the team that everybody hated. You know, but that hate was respect, and they respected us, and they knew they were going to be in the game, and our guys always played hard, and I was so proud of that. In the times we didn't win, I would just tell the team we just ran out of time. You know, we would have beaten them if we could play a little longer. And but we won an awful lot of them, and I can remember every loss, but I can't remember every win. But I'm so proud of the group, and I hope I hadn't left anybody out. I'm sure I have, but I've got to list. I'm going to leave you with a story I told in 1985 at an event that they honored Charles down at the Marriott. They had a big old reunion down there. I've told this story a couple of times, so some of you old timers will have heard it. There's a few newcomers that maybe won't. But before I got married, my daddy said the most important thing in a wife is a good attitude. You get you a woman with a good attitude. Don't marry a pretty girl. I married the prettiest girl in the town, but he said, you got to first be sure she's got a good attitude. And I'm a big attitude person. I mean, if a guy came into practice and he didn't have a good attitude, he had to go. I didn't want him there, because attitude just meant the world to me. So we got married, and we went on a honeymoon, and we were in the bedroom, and so I just took my pants off, and I flipped them over to Bunny, and I said, try these pants on. I had a 36-inch waist, and she weighed 116 pounds, and she put them on, and they just swallowed them. And she said, I can't fill these pants up. I said, honey, that's the point I want to get across to you. I wear the pants. And, you know, we just need to understand that I'm the man, and, you know. So about that time, she took her bikini panties off, and she flipped them over to me. She said, try those panties on. So I got them up to about my knees, and it wouldn't go any further. I said, I can't get in these panties. And she said, and you won't either. I need to finish. She said, and you won't either till you change your attitude. I changed my attitude. Thank you all so much. It's been a great time.
A couple of quick things before we finish up. Just stretch for a second, sit back down. Dr. Perkins is going to come up in just a minute, but there's a couple of things that I need to get done. So just to see for another couple of minutes before we finish. You mentioned Walton a few minutes ago, and he couldn't be here tonight, but what he does have he did have this card that he wanted us to pass along to you. And Willard Bailey couldn't be here tonight as well. And I'm going to tell you, Willard, do y'all know Willard? How many of y'all know Willard real well? There's no such thing as a short note from Willard Bailey. Tonight, the same difference. I'm not going to read this thing tonight, but this is from Willard Bailey as well. Now, the one other thing I want to do before we bring Dr. Perkins up is I want to tell y'all something very quickly. And first of all, it is that you guys all know him around Virginia Union and what he's done for Virginia Union. But you don't always know what he's done for those in the city of Richmond and for those that became friends of his, like I feel like I am. I can remember, and quickly I'll tell you this one. He drove to Charlotte, North Carolina when I was celebrating my 40th birthday and picked up a jukebox that my wife wanted me to have for my 40th. Wouldn't take a penny for driving down to get it. Wouldn't take anything she wanted to do. But he did it because I know why he did it. And I'm going to tell you something. There's a few men that I'm going to stand up and tell you that I love too. But just like every one of these players, I love Dave Robbins. And for me, it has been a thrill to know him, just as it's been a thrill for me to know these players. Because I think y'all knew one thing for sure. I loved you too. And that's the most beautiful thing about this whole situation. Isn't it great that color did not matter? Wouldn't it be great if the rest of the world could take the example that Virginia Union was the first to step out with many years ago and do something that wasn't the norm? Thank you, Virginia Union, because not only do you accept him, you accepted me. And I can't say thank you enough for that. Don't get worried here. People got to go to the bathroom.
I know. Just talking about good people. We bragged on Tony Lanassa. He left, and as he left, Joe, he handed me a check for $5,000 for this event, and that's awesome.
Thank you, Chip. Thank you very much. You're doing a great job. Let's give Chip a hand. And let's stand up again for Dave. Let's stand up. Distinction and credibility to our institution all over this country. We're deeply indebted. He's iconic, and he joins a list of iconic people who graduated from the institution, and he as a leader here has contributed much to development of that leadership. We are a school with a deep history of outstanding people, and he's going to go down in the history as one of those outstanding people who graduated from Virginia Union. Thank you, Dave. So on behalf of our Board of Trustees and all the faculty, staff, and students of this institution, we are deeply honored and grateful for all the service that you rendered on behalf of Virginia Union. We're proud of the persons who you have tutored, the individuals that you helped to become outstanding people. I remember recently I was wearing a Union cap at Caesar's Palace, and they said, "Oh, you're from the school that Oakley went to." I said, what in the hell they know about Oakley and Caesar's Palace? Well, Oakley is known all over, as well as Ben and the rest of the guys, and we're thankful for you helping to develop these outstanding young men. Again, you notice that Dr. Royal, he always put his money where his mouth is, where we are trying to establish a substantial an account so that we can give distinguished scholarships to our students in his honor. So again, we're asking you to consider helping us to realize that possibility on his behalf. Already the amount that Dr. Royal and Pam have indicated that they would give is enough to establish it. But we need to add more so that we can make those scholarships substantial. And we appreciate all of you being here. We appreciate what you're going to do for Union. And we look forward to the continuation of the legacy. I know it's going to be hard. More and more as I get older, the less patient I am. And of course, our coaching staff, they're going to be under tremendous pressure. But we think that we can do what we need to do with the leadership we have in athletic administration here at the university. And we employ you and we encourage you to come and see. You see our institution is being transformed. We're a school where we haven't experienced some of the things that many of the other schools have experienced. We have growth in enrollment. We've spent $10 million refurbishing our campus without debt. We're building a new $17 million building right across the street. And we only see progress ahead. So we ask you all to come and join us and enjoy it. Again, with what's happened here tonight, Dave, we might want to do something like this continuously. So thank you very much, and good night to all of you.